You ever notice how everyone's trying to make life look like it's this clean, well-planned, Instagram filtered thing, like we're all just one morning routine away from peace? But the truth is, life's not peaceful. It's loud, it's confusing, it's messy, and it's one long string of what the hell was that moments. And the funny thing is, that's actually the best part. Because if life were perfect, we'd be bored out of our minds. Perfection has no punchline. It's the disaster that makes it funny. It's funny because it's terrible. That's the deal. You wake up one morning thinking, today's the day I finally get my life together. And then the universe just laughs in your face. You spill your coffee, you're late for work, your car won't start, your boss gives you that look like you've personally ruined his week, and you realize this is it. This is the show. This is life doing what life does best, falling apart while pretending to hold it. Together. It's like watching a magic trick where the magician keeps dropping everything, and you're just sitting there thinking, this guy has no idea what he's doing. But that magician is you, and you just keep performing. We love to act like we're in control, like there's a plan, like if we follow the rules, everything will make sense. But the older you get, the more you realize nobody knows what's going on. Everyone's improvising, just trying not to trip over their own lies. The only difference between you and the person who looks confident is that they've accepted they're lost. They've just decided to walk like they know the way. It's like when you're driving somewhere and you get lost, but you refuse to admit it. You keep turning left and right, hoping you'll somehow end up where you meant to go. That's life. Except nobody's giving you GPS directions, and even if they were, you wouldn't listen. You'd still take the wrong turn because you just had a feeling. That feeling is how we all end up stuck in the middle of nowhere, pretending it's a destination. What's hilarious about life is how confidently we make bad decisions. Like, we'll do something obviously dumb, but we'll justify it with this deep spiritual nonsense. It felt right in the moment. Yeah, so does eating a family-sized pizza alone at midnight. Doesn't mean it's wise. We're all out here chasing things that don't make us happy just because we think they're supposed to. Money, approval, success, love. Half the time, we don't even know what we want. We just want to not look like we're failing. But here's the twist. We're all failing, constantly, repeatedly, beautifully. That's the show. That's what makes it funny. The shared stupidity of being human. There's this weird freedom that comes when you stop pretending to have it figured out. You stop editing your life like it's a highlight reel and start watching it like a blooper reel. And suddenly, it's hilarious. Because every single person is walking around thinking, everyone else seems to know what they're doing except me. And the punchline is, nobody does. The world's just one giant group project where everyone's hoping someone else did the work. Think about it. Every stage of life comes with this illusion that the next one will make sense. When you're a kid, you think adults have it figured out. Then you become an adult, and you realize adults are just taller children with bills. You hit your 20 seconds thinking you're supposed to build your dream life, but all you're really building is anxiety and debt. In your 30 seconds, you start realizing you've been improvising for a decade and nobody noticed. By your 40 seconds, you stop caring. By your 50 seconds, you start laughing. Because now you've seen enough to know that life's not a ladder, it's a loop. You just keep bumping into the same lessons dressed in different costumes. You know it's tragic. How hard we try to make everything meaningful. We turn every random moment into a motivational poster. Like you'll drop your ice cream and someone will say, everything happens for a reason. Yeah, the reason is gravity. Not every tragedy is a cosmic lesson. Sometimes life just drops your ice cream. And that's okay. The meaning is in how you react to it, whether you scream, cry, or just laugh and buy another one. Because once you realize life doesn't owe you an explanation, you stop fighting it. You start laughing with it. The chaos becomes part of the comedy. And we all live with this illusion that one day it's all going to click. One day you'll wake up and understand it all, why things happened, why people left, why it didn't work out. But you won't. You'll just get better at being confused. You'll get more comfortable in the uncertainty. Because that's what growing up really is. It's not gaining wisdom. It's learning to laugh faster when things go wrong. It's finding humor in what used to hurt you. The same pain that once broke you becomes material for your next joke. That's evolution. The funny thing about terrible situations is that when you're in them, you can't see the humor. You're too busy panicking. But later, when you look back, it's all ridiculous. Like those moments where you thought your world was ending because someone didn't text you back, or because your job interview went horribly. At the time, it's tragedy. Later, it's comedy. The only difference between tragedy and comedy is timing and a little self-awareness. We're all living through scenes that will be hilarious someday. You just have to survive long enough to get to the punchline. And that's what makes life bearable, the shared laughter. When you tell someone about your worst moment, and instead of pity, they laugh with you, that's connection. Because that laugh says, me too. It says, you're not the only idiot here. And that's beautiful. It's not cruel, it's healing. Laughter is the sound of honesty. It's the sound of us admitting we're not okay and somehow being okay with that. The world is falling apart, and we're just here finding reasons to laugh at the pieces. That's not denial, that's resilience. Sometimes you meet people who take everything too seriously. They walk around like life's this solemn mission. You can see the weight of existence crushing their shoulders. They're allergic to humor. And you just want to tell them, relax, you're going to die anyway, might as well enjoy the prelude. Because the joke of existence is that none of us get out alive. And knowing that should make us laugh more, not less. It should make us take the small stuff lightly, the missed calls, the broken plans, the awkward moments. None of it's permanent. It's all temporary nonsense. That's what makes it precious. You can't hold on to it, so you might as well laugh while it's here. And let's be honest, sometimes it's the terrible things that bond us the most. Nobody connects over perfection. Nobody says, remember that time everything went exactly as planned? No, we connect over disaster stories. The time you embarrassed yourself, the time you failed, the time you got caught lying, crying, or just existing weirdly, those are the moments that make you real. Those are the moments that make people love you, because perfection is distant, but failure, that's human. That's where the laughter lives. So maybe the secret isn't to fix life. Maybe it's just to witness it, how absurd it all is, and laugh. Laugh when things break, when people leave, when plans fall apart. Not because it's funny in a cruel way, but because it's life being honest. The truth is messy. And when you stop trying to clean it up, you start enjoying it. You start living in it, raw and unfiltered. You start to see that the mess is the art. The cracks are the design. The flaws are what make the picture interesting. The day you can look at your chaos, your failures, your fears, and genuinely laugh, not with bitterness, but with understanding, that's when you win. Not because you conquered life, but because you finally got the joke. You finally realized that life was never supposed to make sense. It was supposed to make you laugh. And that laugh, that one honest, tired, human laugh, is the sound of someone who's finally at peace with the madness. Pain has this weird sense of humor, you know? It shows up uninvited, ruins your plans, eats all your emotional food, and then just sits there like it's doing you a favor. You're crying, shaking, losing your mind, and pain's like, you'll laugh about this later. And the messed up part is, it's right, you do, eventually. You laugh not because it stopped hurting, but because you can finally see how absurd it all was. That's what pain does. It humbles you, embarrasses you, teaches you lessons you didn't ask for, and still somehow ends up giving you a story worth telling. It's funny because it's terrible, and terrible because it's funny. There's this thing people say, everything happens for a reason. And that's supposed to be comforting, but honestly, half the time, the reason is just that life doesn't know what else to do with you. It throws chaos at you like, here, see what you can do with this mess. You break up, lose your job, fail miserably, and life just watches, waiting to see if you'll laugh or cry first. Most of the time, you cry. But if you stick around long enough, laughter shows up like a backup therapist. Because laughter doesn't fix pain, it just makes it lighter. It lets you hold it without it breaking you. When something painful happens, we act like the world owes us an explanation. We keep asking, why me? As if life's keeping score somewhere, but there's no scoreboard. There's no referee blowing a whistle saying, foul play, unfair, heartbreak. Pain doesn't care about fairness. It just happens, randomly, unpredictably, to everyone. You can do everything right, eat the right food, love the right people, work hard, stay kind, and life will still trip you when you least expect it. And that's when you realize it's not personal. Pain's not out to get you. It's just part of the routine. Like bad weather or slow Wi-Fi, it just shows up to remind you you're not in control. And when it hits, we do this dramatic thing where we act like it's the end of everything. You go through a breakup, and suddenly every sad song feels like it was written for you. You sit in your car, staring out the window like you're in some indie movie. You start narrating your own tragedy in your head, like, he walked away, and with him went my soul. But then, months later, you're laughing about it with your friends, like, remember when I thought my life was over because of that guy who didn't even know how to use a washing machine? Pain ages into comedy. You just have to let it sit for a while. And it's not just heartbreak, it's everything. The job you didn't get, the dream that didn't happen, the mistake you swore would destroy you. Every time, you think it's the end. But it's not. It's just the setup for the next punchline. That's how life works. It builds tension, drops you in despair, and then gives you something so ridiculous you can't help but laugh. You fail at something you cared about, and then life sends you a new disaster that makes the first one look cute. And suddenly, you're laughing not because it's funny, but because you realize it's all just too much. There's a point where pain pushes you past sadness into pure absurdity. You're standing in the ruins of your plans, thinking, of course this happened. Why wouldn't it? That's the moment. You've made peace with pain. That's when you start seeing the humor in it. Pain has this sneaky way of giving you perspective. It strips you down, takes away your illusions, your ego, your plans, and then asks, okay, now, who are you without all that? At first, you hate it. You resist it. You try to glue your old life back together, pretend nothing's changed, but pain doesn't let you go back. It forces you forward. It makes you uncomfortable until you stop running. And when you finally sit with it, when you stop fighting, it starts talking. Not gently, though. Pain's not a polite teacher. It's sarcastic, rude, brutally honest. It says things like, you thought you were in control? Cute. Or, you wanted growth? Here's some trauma. But if you listen, if you stop shouting over it, you start learning. You start understanding yourself in ways comfort never could. The funny part is that the most painful moments are the ones that shape us the most. You never grow from happiness. You grow from humiliation, from rejection, from failure, from nights where you didn't think you'd make it. Those are the moments that rewrite your story. You just don't see it while it's happening. You only realize later that the pain didn't destroy you, it rebuilt you. And what's more ironic than that? The very thing you cursed becomes the reason you're stronger, wiser, calmer. You start to laugh, not out of joy, but out of recognition. Like, oh, I see what you did there, life. Nice trick. We have this habit of treating pain like a punishment, like it's a sign we did something wrong. But sometimes, it's just life cleaning house. It removes people, breaks illusions, ends chapters, not to hurt you, but to prepare you. But since it doesn't come with an explanation, we think it's cruelty. Later, when the dust settles, we realize it was just part of the joke, a painful, necessary joke. The kind that only makes sense in hindsight. And you know what's really twisted? Pain connects us more than anything else. You don't bond over success stories. You bond over scars. You bond over the times you broke down, messed up, lost hope. When someone says, yeah, I've been there. It's not just empathy, it's recognition. That shared pain becomes shared laughter. It's how we tell each other, you're not crazy, you're just human. Pain might isolate you for a while, but laughter brings you back. It pulls you out of the corner and reminds you there's life after everything. Pain is like that friend who tells you the truth you don't want to hear. You hate them for it, but they're always right. You can try to numb it, ignore it, drown it out, but it'll find you. You can drink, distract, scroll, pretend, but pain's patient. It'll wait until 3 a.m. when everything's quiet, and it'll sit on your chest like, we still have things to discuss. And as much as you want to run, you can't. Because that conversation, as uncomfortable as it is the one that changes you. You stop asking, why me, and start asking, what now? That's the moment pain becomes power. Not because it disappears, but because it stops owning you. And there's something deeply funny about how we always think we're done with pain. Like, okay, I've been through enough. I've learned my lesson. And then life's like, hold my beer. Another round comes, new pain, new punchline. Because there's always another layer, another test, another crack waiting to be discovered. You never really graduate from suffering, you just get better at laughing through it. The more you live, the more you realize pain doesn't go away, it evolves. It stops being this monster you fear and becomes this weird companion you understand. You stop asking it to leave. And instead, you let it walk beside you. You learn to make jokes with it. You use it to create, to speak, to connect. Because once you've laughed in the face of something that once broke you, you become untouchable. What can hurt you now? You've already been through the worst, and you turned it into a story, into laughter. That's not just healing, that's transformation. And yeah, pain sucks. It's messy, it's unfair, it's relentless, but it's also the most honest thing life gives you. It doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It just tells you you're alive. Because only the living feel pain. Only the breathing get to laugh after it. The absence of pain isn't happiness, it's numbness. And numbness is just silence. Pain, at least, has a sense of rhythm. It sets up the joke. It gives life texture. Without it, everything would be flat and dull. So the next time life hurts, maybe don't rush to escape it. Sit with it for a bit. Let it sting. Let it talk. Let it turn into a joke eventually. Because it will. Pain always becomes funny when you survive it. It's life's way of saying, congratulations, you made it. Now laugh. Because that's the real victory, not in avoiding pain, but in being able to laugh after it. That laugh is proof you're still here, still human, still capable of turning the terrible into something beautiful. People are hilarious when you really think about it. Every single one of us is just trying to look normal while quietly falling apart. We walk around pretending we got it all figured out, smiling at strangers, giving advice like we're sages, when inside we're like, what the hell is happening? Everyone's trying to seem functional while holding together with duct tape and denial. It's like we're all in a group project called life, and nobody did the homework, but we're still trying to present confidently so no one notices. That's humanity, one big performance of pretending not to panic. You ever look at someone and think, wow, they've got it together? Maybe they've got the perfect haircut, they eat kale voluntarily, they post morning routine videos at 6 a.m., and you're sitting there like, I'm just proud I didn't cry in the shower today. But then you get to know them, and you realize they're just as broken, just hiding it better. That's the secret. Everyone's faking composure. We're all trying to make chaos look like confidence. The calm people, they've just accepted the madness. They stopped fighting it. The loud, anxious ones, they're just still pretending life comes with instruction. And it's funny because everyone's weird in their own specific way. No one's truly sane. You meet people who seem completely normal until you spend enough time with them. Then the cracks start to show. The ones who talk about positivity all the time usually have rage stored somewhere behind their eyes. The quiet ones are the most sarcastic when you catch them off guard. The people who post motivational quotes are crying in their cars. Everyone's hiding something ridiculous, and once you see that, you can't unsee it. You start realizing how ridiculous it is to judge anyone, including yourself. It's like we all have this secret inner world that would make people laugh or cry if they could see it. The random thoughts, the insecurities, the obsessions we'd never admit. You're walking through the grocery store thinking about your childhood trauma, trying to pick the right brand of cereal. You're in a meeting pretending to care about spreadsheets while internally replaying that one embarrassing thing you said 5 years ago. We're all doing this weird dance between acting normal and managing existential panic, and somehow we think we're the only ones doing it. That's what makes it funny. Everyone's struggling to appear fine while thinking they're the only ones struggling. It's like being in a crowd where everyone's sweating but pretending it's just you. People love to say, be yourself, but they never tell you how. Because the moment you try to be yourself, someone judges you, and suddenly you're back to acting again. So you start switching personalities depending on the room you're in. You got your work self, your friend self, your family self, and your don't care anymore self. And none of them are the real one. The real one only comes out at 2 a.m. when you're staring at the ceiling thinking, I don't even know who I am anymore. And that's fine. Nobody does. Nobody's a finished product. We're all just drafts being edited by bad experiences and strange decisions. The funniest thing is how much effort we put into pretending to be normal. You ever see someone trip on the sidewalk? They immediately turn into a little jog, like, yeah, I meant to do that. We all do that. But emotionally, you have a meltdown, then post something deep like, learning to let go. No, you're not learning. You're spiraling gracefully. That's what we all do. We try to turn disasters into lessons, awkwardness into wisdom, panic into growth, because admitting we're lost feels like failure. But honestly, being lost is the most universal human experience. We should just normalize it. And what's even funnier is how everyone's judging each other while being equally messed up. You'll be like, wow, she's so dramatic, while you're having imaginary arguments in the shower. Or you'll call someone selfish right after ignoring 3 messages because you didn't have the energy to deal with people. We're hypocrites by nature, walking contradictions with nice cologne. And the reason it's not depressing is because it's true for everyone. Once you realize nobody's perfect, you stop pretending to be. You start laughing at the madness instead of hiding from it. There's something beautiful about admitting that we're all a little broken. It's freeing. You stop performing, stop competing, stop pretending to have an aesthetic. You can finally exhale, because pretending to be perfect is exhausting. It's like trying to keep a balloon underwater. It always pops back up, usually at the worst moment. You might fool people for a while, but eventually your weirdness leaks out, and when it does, you realize something incredible. The right people don't run, they laugh. They say, same, because honesty is magnetic. Everyone's pretending until someone dares to be real. You meet people, and the first version of them is always a character. The second version, after a few cracks, that's the truth. That's when the jokes get darker, the laughter gets louder, and the conversations start to matter. Vulnerability is funny like that. It makes things real. When you stop pretending, life gets messier, but it also gets funnier. Because now you're seeing the real comedy, everyone trying to navigate their own insanity while pretending to be sane. And we all think we're absolutely the exception. We think no one's as messed up as me. But that's the biggest lie we all tell ourselves. Everyone's anxious, insecure, confused, pretending not to be. That person you envy probably cries over something ridiculous too. The one you think is confident probably overthinks everything before speaking. The one who looks fearless might be barely holding on. Everyone's fighting invisible battles and somehow still finding the energy to make small talk about the weather. That's heroism, honestly. If you've ever looked around and thought, everyone seems so much better at life than me, just remember they're thinking the same thing about you. That's the grand joke. Everyone's looking at everyone else's highlight reel while hiding their own bloopers. We're all comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's edited version, and that's why we feel like we're losing. But once you realize the whole game's rigged, you stop competing. You just laugh. Because nobody's winning. Everyone's just trying to keep the Wi-Fi connected long enough to pretend they're okay. And the deeper truth behind all that absurdity is that we're all connected through our flaws, not our strengths. It's the broken parts that make us relatable. Nobody bonds over success, they bond over the struggle, the mistakes, the shared what the hell am I doing moments. That's why laughter matters so much. It's how we admit, yeah, me too. I don't have it figured out either. It turns isolation into connection, pain into camaraderie, strangeness into belonging. Sometimes I think if everyone could see each other's inner lives for just 5 minutes, the world would be kinder. You'd see that the angry person's just scared. The rude one's insecure. The one who seems happy all the time is probably faking it to survive. You'd stop taking everything so personally. You'd realize we're all reacting to our own chaos, just trying not to drown in it. That understanding that shared humanity is what makes life bearable. Because it's not the suffering that breaks you, it's thinking you're the only one suffering. And the irony is that the more we hide our flaws, the lonelier we get. We spend so much energy editing ourselves that we forget connection only happens when we're unfiltered. People don't fall in love with your perfection, they fall in love with your cracks, with your awkwardness, your laughter, your truth, because those things are real. The rest is marketing. And life's too short to spend it pretending to be a brand. You're not a product. You're a human mess with stories and scars and bad days, and that's what makes you interesting. We chase this idea of normal like it's a destination, but normal doesn't exist. It's a myth created by people who are too scared to be weird. The truth is, the weird ones are the most alive. The ones who laugh too loud, feel too deeply, overthink, care too much, they're the ones who make the world vibrant. They're the ones who remind everyone else it's okay to be human. Because normal is boring, broken is funny, honest is beautiful. And when you finally accept that everyone's broken, something magical happens. You stop expecting perfection. You stop being disappointed all the time. You stop holding grudges because you realize everyone's just doing their best, badly. You start forgiving people faster. You even forgive yourself. And that's when life starts feeling lighter. Not because it gets easier, but because you stop pretending it's supposed to be easy. You start laughing more, even when it hurts, because you know that laughter is the only sane reaction to an insane world. So yeah, people are broken, you're broken, I'm broken. But maybe that's the point. Maybe that's where all the meaning is. The cracks are what let the light in, sure, but they're also what let the laughter out. And if you can laugh about being broken, you're already halfway healed. Failure is this thing we all treat like a personal apocalypse, when really, it's just life slipping on a banana peel. We make it dramatic, we cry, we curse the universe, we call it rock bottom. But if you zoom out far enough, it's actually kind of funny. You spend weeks, maybe months building something, an idea, a plan, a dream, and then one random Tuesday, it collapses like a cheap tent in a storm. You're standing in the wreckage, staring at your own ambition like, was this really my big moment? And life, being the comedian that it is, just shrugs. Because that's what failure really is, a performance gone wrong. The trick is realizing you're not supposed to walk off the stage, you're supposed to improvise. There's something oddly theatrical about failing. You always imagine it's going to be this quiet, private event, you'll just know you failed, maybe have a sad song playing in your head. But no. Failure loves an audience. It happens in public, when you least expect it, and always when someone's watching. You trip on your words during a presentation, your idea gets rejected in front of everyone. You make a joke that dies so hard you can feel the silence vibrate. And the worst part, you can't escape it. You can only stand there and own it. But here's the secret nobody tells you. Once you stop fighting that embarrassment, once you let yourself see how ridiculous it looks, the tension breaks, you start laughing. Because what else can you do? The laugh doesn't erase the failure, but it turns it into something survivable. We all want to avoid failure so badly, like it's a disease. But imagine how boring life would be if everything you tried just worked. You'd never learn anything. You'd never be humbled. You'd never get that sweet moment where you say, I can't believe I survived that. Failure gives life texture. It's the contrast that makes everything else meaningful. Without it, success would feel like nothing. You wouldn't even know what happened. That's why failure matters. It's not punishment, it's punctuation. It's the universe pausing you to say, hold up, you're not ready yet. Try again, but this time with less ego. The funniest part is how serious we get when we fail. You'd think we were the first humans in history to mess up. You see people walking around like their life is over because something didn't work out. They start narrating their misery like, this always happens to me, I'm cursed. No. You're not cursed, you're human. Failure is not a personal attack, it's a reminder that you're trying. The only people who never fail are the ones who never try anything new. And those people aren't living, they're just waiting around for a safe way to die. You ever look back at something you thought was a huge failure and realize it was actually hilarious? That breakup that shattered you, that job you lost, that thing that didn't go your way. Years later, you tell it as a story at dinner, and everyone laughs. You laugh too, because it's ridiculous how much you cared. You can see it now, the melodrama, the overthinking, the way you convinced yourself your life was ruined. But back then, it felt real. It felt like the end. That's the genius of failure. It tricks you into thinking it's final when it's really just a setup. It's the cliffhanger that leads to your next chapter. And man, failure has perfect comedic timing. It never happens when you're ready. It shows up right when you're starting to feel confident. You get that feeling like, yeah, I've got this. And life's like, oh, do you? And then boom, you fall on your face. It's like the universe has a sense of irony that never misses. But that's what keeps you humble. You can't get too full of yourself when you know how quickly things can fall apart. That's what makes life bearable, the unpredictability. If everything went right, we'd never have anything to laugh about. Failure also exposes your real friends. When you're succeeding, everyone claps. When you fail, everyone disappears except the real ones. The ones who stay and make fun of you for it, gently. The ones who remind you it's not that serious. Those are your people. They see your failure and don't flinch. They know it's part of the deal. That's another reason to laugh at your mistakes. It takes the power away from them. The moment you can make a joke about your own downfall, nobody can use it against you. You own it. You turn it into a story instead of a scar. What's interesting is that failure doesn't actually hurt as much as the story we tell ourselves about it. The fear of failure is way worse than failure itself. Before it happens, you imagine humiliation, shame, judgment. You build it up into this monstrous thing in your head, and then it happens, and it's just awkward, maybe painful, maybe embarrassing, but survivable. You wake up the next day, you still have a face, the world keeps spinning, the people you thought were judging you, they forgot already, because everyone's too busy worrying about their own failures. Nobody's really paying attention to yours for long. That's the best kept secret. You're not that important in other people's stories. You're the background character in most people's minds. So fail loudly. Nobody's keeping score but you. There's something liberating about realizing that. Once you stop trying to look flawless, you start trying things just for the experience. You stop living for applause and start living for stories. Because let's be real, the best stories always come from the worst moments. Nobody ever says, remember that time everything went smoothly? No. The good stuff, the funny stuff, the meaningful stuff, it all comes from things going wrong. That's where life happens. That's where you grow. That's where you start to feel alive again. Sometimes failure isn't even failure, it's a redirection. You think you lost something, but really, you dodged something worse. You think you were rejected, but life was just clearing space for something else. But it never tells you that in the moment. It just kicks you down a flight of stairs and says, trust me, later, when you land somewhere better, you look back and laugh because you realize the fall was necessary. It hurt, but it was part of the joke. The universe doesn't deliver success with a bow, it delivers it through chaos. And maybe failure is not a slap in the face, maybe it's a mirror. It shows you who you are without the shiny stuff. It strips away the pretending and says, okay, what now? That's where real confidence is built. Not when everything goes right, but when everything goes wrong and you're still standing. You start realizing your worth has nothing to do with your wins. It's about your ability to get up, dust off, and still find a way to laugh at yourself. That's power, that's self-respect. There's this moment after every failure when you feel completely empty, like there's nothing left to give. But then, slowly, a small part of you starts rebuilding. It starts whispering, maybe I can try again. That's resilience. It's quiet, unglamorous, stubborn. It doesn't need applause. It just shows up. And that's when you realize you don't really fail until you stop showing up. Falling isn't failing. Staying down is. And honestly, sometimes failure is just life's way of making you interesting. You can't trust someone who's never failed. They don't know humility. They don't know empathy. They don't have depth. The people who've fallen apart and come back together, they're the ones who know how to laugh through pain, how to find light in darkness, how to make something beautiful out of. And the terrible, those are the people you want in your life. They don't take things too seriously because they've seen how quickly things can go wrong. They don't judge others because they know what it's like to be judged. So yeah, failure's ugly, it's awkward, it's inconvenient, but it's also funny, honest, and necessary. It's what makes us real. Every fall is just another scene in this ridiculous play we call life. Sometimes you nail the performance, sometimes you trip over the curtain, but either way, the show goes on. You get up, fix your costume, maybe deliver the wrong line, but you keep going. Because that's all life really asks of you. Not perfection, not constant success, just persistence. Just the willingness to stay in the act, even when the audience isn't clapping. And if you can learn to laugh in those moments when you're on the floor, covered in metaphorical dust, realizing how far you've fallen, then you've already turned failure into something priceless. You've turned it into comedy, into connection, into freedom. Because once you can laugh at the fall, the fear of falling disappears. That's the punchline life keeps trying to tell us. You're gonna trip, you're gonna fail, and it's gonna be ridiculous. But as long as you can get up and smile at the absurdity of it all, you're still in the game, and that's what matters.